Getting gear in Guild Wars 2 at max level can sometimes feel like a maze, mainly because for the most part each piece of gear is close in stat value, or even identical, but in the manner of which you get it is truly the challenge. In this video I'm going to share the easiest ways to get exotic, ascended, and legendary gear in Guild Wars 2. Make sure to like the video and subscribe to the channel for more Guild Wars 2 and Guild Wars Reforged content. The three tiers of endgame gear do not vary massively in stat value, but simply on their functionality and quality of life. Exotic gear is more common max level gear, and it offers a very good number of stats that basically will be acceptable for 90% of endgame activity. Literally, exotic gear can cover just about everything you will need, save for higher tier fractals of the mists and challenge mode strike missions. Perhaps raids, but that could also be its own argument. The next level up stat value wise is ascended gear. Ascended gear is roughly a 5% overall increase of value over exotic, and at least that's the number that's shared around frequently. Once you have at least ascended gear, you will be covered for everything Guild Wars 2 can throw your way, as this allows you to have the highest stat values possible as well as infusion slots for fractals of the mist. Higher tier fractals require agony resistance, a slottable stat value that is only able to be equipped on ascended level gear or higher. These tend to be a little bit more challenging to get, but essentially once you get them, you're good. You don't really have to do anything with them. The stat values once selected don't change, and that's the big piece. These ascended pieces of gear can also be shared with other characters on your account that can use that piece of gear, but you have to put them either into the bank or into a shared inventory slot to transfer. Now, legendary gear. These items usually have some unique aura or effect that makes your character look like 10 times cooler, but essentially that is the major difference between that and ascended gear. Legendary gear has the exact same stat value of that of ascended. The beauty is that legendary gear can instantly be swapped to any character who can use it. They can pull it straight out of the legendary gear wardrobe. You can also slot runes, sigils, and infusions and remove them without any cost. You can change their stat values at free will for free, and you can change their looks for free. Essentially, legendary gear are the pinnacle of quality of life. However, there is a cost, and it takes quite a bit of time to unlock them, so keep that in mind. Let's talk about how you get each one of them. I have picked some of the easier methods to get exotic gear, and ideally not breaking the bank to do so. The first method that you can get a full set of exotic gear is from the trading post. Specifically, we're looking at the named pieces of exotic gear. There are several options for each tier, but the main one that I recommend are focusing on is the Zed's gear for light armor, Nika's for medium, or Devona's for heavy. These offer the Berserker stat line, which empowers any strike damage oriented build, which for every class, they have access to some version of a build like this. You can get a whole set for under 3 to 4 gold, and it's a great starting point for any player without really breaking the bank. Now be careful though, because you can also get other stat valued exotics, such as Celestials, off of the trading post, but the problem is that each one of those pieces is going to cost 5 to 6 to maybe even more gold. I haven't looked recently. These named exotic gear are very cheap, and offering the Berserker stat line is a great starting point as it just allows players to be able to jump in and be fairly effective. The next method that I would recommend is by participating in World vs. World and farming up badges of honor. There are vendors in each of the World v World maps that sell you every piece of gear possible at the exotic level for about a gold piece and under 100 badges of honor each. The benefit here is that each of these pieces of gear are completely customizable in stat value, meaning you could choose whatever stat value line that you want to go for your build. Like for example, the best all-around stat line is the Celestial stat line, which can be picked this way, which is especially good if you play like the Elementalist. And you get badges of honor just by participating in World v World. You don't even really have to get really that engaged in actual PvP contact. You can really just go around capturing camps, stopping yak caravans, moseying about, honestly. Just as long as you're participating, you'll get a skirmish chest, and one of the rewards that you can pick from it is 20 badges of honor. For an exotic weapon that is very easy, I do want to also make mention is that if you have any of the 3 expansions, the main 3, so Path of Fire, Heart of Thorns, or End of Dragons, you can unlock the respective exotic weapon for that elite specialization, and you just get a free weapon just by starting out. You get the weapon right there. You don't have to do anything else. It's very simple, it's very easy, and bam, you have an exotic piece of gear. Now, for ascended gear, there is quite a few ways to get them, and they all require mild effort, we'll say. So starting out, trinkets, accessories, and rings are my recommendation to get first. And the easiest way to do this is by going to the Laurel vendor in any major city. You can purchase basically all the ones that you will want and need immediately right there. And they offer quite a bunch of different stat values that you can choose from. These are fairly cheap to get, and honestly, they are a perfect way to get started with Ascended gear. Most of them only costing 30 to 40 laurels. Bam, instant Ascended gear. You can get your laurels from the Wizard's Vault just by completing some of the dailies, and then you exchange them there, and then you get some pieces very easily. The next easiest place is going to be through the Wizard's Vault itself. Each seasonal refresh, you can get 1 weapon and 3 pieces of armor for basically free just by doing your dailies anyway. You get to choose the stats on each one of these, and they are unmatched for their ease of earning. 10 for 10 would recommend. It takes like no time at all, and they're all stat selectable, so you can choose whatever one will fit you best. After all of those are exhausted, we have to look at some more effort-oriented ways to get gear. The big 3 ways that you can earn Ascended gear that I would recommend is in raids, PvP, or World v World. I bring these up specifically because if you ever want to continue down the line to earn legendary armor, these 3 are the best methods to do so. You can technically earn legendary armor in Secrets of the Obscure in the open world. However, I just recommend getting these because you'll get the Ascended gear and then you could eventually earn the legendary gear. Bam. Each one of these methods offers a way to get the precursor Ascended gear that will be eventually used to craft the legendary counterpart. Personally, I've done a lot of this in PvP, but some people prefer World v World or raiding as their options to get Ascended gear. I will say very importantly, earning Ascended gear and raiding is possibly the best, we'll say, because you get the complete collection, all of your armor, immediately by completing the collection. It comes all in one box, and then they're all stat selectable, so you're basically set up from there. It's the Envoy, the experimental Envoy Ascended armor. And then from there, going into the Legendary, we can talk about that as far as the raiding pieces that you'll need, but you get a full set of Ascended right there, and you don't have to do really much anything more other than just enjoying raids. This will have been made easier when the quick play beta expands out to that of the raid wings rather than just simply the strike missions where it is at the time of recording, or you may not even be able to earn them through quick play. I'm not 100% on that as a note, but I could imagine them opening up that as an avenue down the line. Regardless, if you are enjoying the quick play strike missions or later down the line raids, a fantastic way to earn the Ascended gear is actually through the magnetite shards that you will earn by completing these quick play strike missions and raids. Again, these allow for all sorts of individual stat choices. The vendor's found right here in the Lion's Arch Aerodome, and as a note, and it's honestly, it's very easy. It only costs us a couple pieces of gold, and then there you go. I also want to make note that if you go through PvP, World v World, or the raiding methods of getting Ascended gear with the idea of going into Legendary, you cannot change the stat value of those pieces of gear. Once you have selected it, it is locked in, because if you change the stat value of that piece of gear, then it no longer becomes a precursor type of armor, which is required for the crafting. So once you've set it, don't change it. Leave it as is. As a note, you can also get an Ascended version of the Elite Specialization exotic weapon that you have already gotten, but it does take some time and usually some type of, we'll say, mild to moderate effort. Honorable mention here is also through the Fractals of the Mist, which offers a wide variety of Ascended gear, but as you start to work harder into the highest tiers of Fractals, you're going to need more Ascended gear and Agony Infusions. I mean, it's not a bad choice at all, but it can just be as grindy as doing PvP, World v World, or raiding, and it doesn't lead to a Legendary down the line. Honestly, from here, pick a route that you may enjoy after exhausting the Wizard's Vault and go for it. Lastly, the Legendary gear, as mentioned, is the best gear in the game, namely for the quality of life that it offers, but know that it does take quite a bit of time, materials, and gold. Aside from the Acacia, the Mist Graspers, and this is a Fractal Incursion only Legendary that you can get a pair of Legendary gloves basically for free. It's literally minimal effort, taking maybe a few hours of consistent play with the use of the quick play beta for Fractals of the Mist. I recommend doing this almost immediately at max level. It takes 0 time, and there you go. And it's only selected for that one piece of armor tier, so if you're an Elementalist, it's only for the Elementalist. It won't be for your Warrior or anything like that, but you can have options of earning the other armor tiers down the line. Now that opens the floor to where do we go next? There are lots of different routes to take to get legendary gear, and I would say that the best route is going to be going for legendary gear that benefits the most characters on your account. Because the difference between exotic gear and ascended and legendary is very small, typically getting pieces of legendary gear that all characters can use, such as rings, trinkets, necklaces, even the spears, are great choices to go from. Aside from that, the legendary starter kit off of the Wizard's Vault is also a great choice to start out because it takes you about 80% of the way there. You still need a good chunk of materials, and then of course the Gift of the Explorer, which does take some time, but it's easy. Throw all of these together with the materials that you have, and you get yourself a Generation 1 legendary weapon to use, or honestly even to sell. Aside from that, if you follow the PvP, the World v World, or the raiding Ascended Gear pieces from the Ascended Gear step, then you can get these fairly easy, these legendary pieces, no problem. It does take a little bit more effort, and it does take some material and gold, but for the most part, flipping them to a legendary piece of gear is really not that bad. Also, as a note, if you earn a legendary piece of gear, especially armor, it is only for the tier that has been selected that can be used. For example, if you get a legendary chest on your Elementalist, it will not work for your Warrior, but it will work for your Mesmer. Regardless of the direction that you go, legendary gear will take some time and a good chunk of gold for the most part. And also each legendary piece of gear is unique, meaning that they all have their own unique steps to complete in. However, earning different legendaries in-game is actually quite a bit of fun because it really allows you to customize your character the way that you want, and it makes your character glow like a nightlight, basically. The best part about Guild Wars 2 is that once you've earned any piece of gear, that gear is set. You don't have to do anything else as expansions roll out. No endless gear treadmill, just simply jump back on and you are all set. Now, if this video did help you out, make sure to give it a like and subscribe to the channel. And as for your next video, if you haven't figured it out, I lay out all the different stats meanings and all the values in this video here. As always, stay caffeinated, folks.